I'm Coach Todd, head coach at NoLimitsTriathlon.com. And in this newsletter, I'm going to carry on with the format that I did last month. And what we did was a video format, and some of you guys said you liked it, so I'm going to carry on until you tell me you don't like it. So what we're going to do is, I realize this is the middle of June. We've had a busy month, and so I'm just going to kind of give an update on what we've done. What we're going to do, I'm going to break it up into a few videos and put it into little bite-sized morsels, so you don't have to take the whole meal at once, and you can eat it whenever you want. Okay, so we're going to talk about, first of all, what I learned in Hawaii. We had a training camp on Big Island a few weeks ago, and that was awesome. And then I'm going to talk about what I learned from Wasa Triathlon, which is a race that happened on the weekend. And then I'm going to give you some open water swim tips. In the last 3 weeks, I've probably completed about 20 open water swims. And so that's all fresh in my head. So maybe some of you haven't had open water swimming yet, but I'm sure you're going to have it pretty soon. Or if you're having some trouble, maybe we can give some tips to help you get through it a little bit, make that a little bit easier. Okay, so that's kind of the overview. Oh, one more thing too, or a couple more things. I am doing a fundraiser. I'm doing a race in a couple of weeks, Joe's team, and I'm trying to raise $500. Right now, I'm almost halfway there. And so if you'd like to donate to the race, that would be awesome. I'll put the link probably below here and below the description in the video. So please help me reach my goal of $500, and it happens in 2 weeks. And I'm also going to talk about a Map to Iron Distance training program. No, not Map to Iron Distance program that's going to be rolling out really, really soon. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about our trip to Hawaii. We had a great time. We were there for the Honu 17.3, which is a half Ironman. And basically what we do is we go there for a week before, and we train on the course, we train in Hawaii, and then on the last day we do a 17.3, which is one of my favorite races. Actually, I think it's my favorite race. Let's say it's my favorite race. Okay, so the things that I've learned from Hawaii, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on myself for this one, because I was a racer as well, so I did the race. And I'm going to talk about what I learned. And so one thing that I learned was you need to set a plan before the race day. So you need to go into it kind of having an idea of what you want, right? So for me, my whole year set up trying to qualify for Hawaii, which I'm going to try and do in just over a month at an Ironman. And so for me, I know the certain level of fitness I have to be at is pretty high, so that when I go into this race, I know that I need to try and finish pretty high up. And so I looked at the results in the past few years and the age group that I'm at, and I figured for me to be competitive, I have to probably try and finish top 5. And so I looked at the last few years and figured out what my times need to be and what placing I would have to be in. So before the race even started, I had that in my mind that I wanted to come top 5 in my age group. And so I knew the effort that had to be put out. I kind of knew how fast the swim had to be. The bike is always questionable about speed in Hawaii if you've ever been there. The reason being is because it can be so darn windy, and that can really affect your bike splits. So, but I kind of knew positioning, like numbers where I'd have to be. So when I got up to Hawaii, what I started to do was counting the people that were coming back, and I realized that I was in 53rd spot overall, so I was doing pretty good. But I knew I had to make up some ground as well, so that I'd be getting close to that top 5. And the same thing on the run. I knew the pace I would have to run, but not just the pace too, but more so placing. Because again, when you get into the race, it can be very hot. And whatever plan you have set out, you're going to have to change it and adapt to it on the fly. So I knew the pace that I wanted to hold, so I was looking at my watch as I was running, and it was pretty good for a little bit, but then the numbers kept going up, which mean I'm going slower. And I said to myself, that's okay. You just, modify your plan and stick to controlling your body temperature. So every aid station, I try to cool my body off. Now, if you're doing a really hot race coming up, this is what I did on each aid station. So I would run into the aid station. The first thing I would do is I would get ice, right? They have cups of ice. I would take and I put down my top, and then I take another one, and then down my shorts. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's a great way to cool off. And then the next part of the aid station, I would take in fluids. So I would take in the Gatorade, and then I would take in, new this year they had Red Bull, so I would take in Red Bull, and then at the end, what I would do is I would grab another cup of ice. Now this ice, I would run with it in my hand. And so this hand would be holding ice. I'd even put it upside down so that the water would be dripping down my arm. And it just helps you cool your body off. And then you take that and you pass it to your other hand. And then what I would do, probably about a couple minutes after the what do we call that? After the aid station, I would take a couple of cubes out and put it in this hand, and I'd run with it until it melts. And what that does, it really helps cool your body off. And I would kind of keep doing that, passing back and forth on my hands to get my temperature down so that when I come to the next aid station, I go through the whole process again, taking 2 cups of ice, top, shorts, water, Gatorade, Red Bull, and then another ice. I'd also take some sponges too and just douse myself off. But I found for me, it was all about controlling the heat. I know that I can run a certain steady pace. As long as I'm moving, the pace is going to be there, but I have to keep the heart rate down and my body temperature lower, because if it's too hot, I'm not going to be able to run that fast. So that's what I did on the race. On the swim, what I learned was I have to stay focused. And so the first half went really well. And then when you come around the backside, the long side, I was swimming along and I looked down. I saw this giant manta ray beneath me. It was on the ocean floor, just swimming like this, right? And I'm probably about, I don't know, maybe 25 feet up. And I just kind of stopped for a minute, just slowed down my stroke, and I'm kind of swimming along with the manta ray, and it kind of took my mind away from the whole race. And then I had to go, whoa, hold on, Todd, you are racing here. So get back into focus and let's get going. So and I know that happened to another athlete too. He was swimming along. He saw a turtle. So he's swimming along. He's like, oh, a turtle. And you just kind of stop. It's such a neat thing to see that kind of ocean life, right? And you don't see that, especially in our lakes. We see some fish, but we never see manta rays or turtles. So I had to stay focused, but I also wanted to enjoy it because I've never seen a manta ray in the ocean before, especially in a race. So that was pretty special for me. Okay, what I learned on the bike. Is it gets very busy, right? So you're gonna have lots of packs of people going, and it's hard for the packs to get separated just because all the people's abilities are very similar. And what I did is I tried to do a lot of passing of the packs, and I would pass going up the hills. I found that on my bike, I had a compact crank on the front and then 1128 on the back. And that was for climbing those hills. It was awesome. A lot of people would pass me on the flats, but on the hills, rarely did I get past. So that was really good. The compact crank was bueno. I liked it a lot. But you got to watch out for people when they're passing, right? So I was one of the faster riders, so I stayed mostly to the left and I'm trying to pass the crowds. But what I found is that as I'm riding along, some people, as they're getting into groups, they would pass, but they wouldn't check over their shoulder. They would come up on a rider and then just go over. And so there's a moment there where we almost crashed. I was coming up on the left, and the guy came over, and we touched bikes, but thank goodness we didn't get connected, so we didn't crash. But just be aware of that. If you are being the passer on the left side really fast, or if you're just coming out, make sure your shoulder check to make sure that our riders aren't coming, and of course traffic's not coming. So that was pretty important. What did I learn on the run? Like I've already mentioned, was you need to set a plan. So I kind of had an idea of what pace I wanted to hold, heart rate, and things like an effort. But you need to be ready to adjust it. So for me, I need to adjust the pace based on the heat. But I knew the plan that I was going to do in the aid station with the ice, right, and the fluids, and that really helped me get through the run. And the most important thing about racing in Hawaii, you got to remember to enjoy yourself. You are on a beautiful island, and if you do feel like you're struggling, just look around, look at the scenery around, and of course you need to say mahalo. Mahalo in Hawaii means thank you. So there's volunteers out there, they're cooking in the heat, and they're out there all day long, and they're helping out people who are racing. So just remember to say thank you, mahalo to all the volunteers. So I think that's very important. So this is going to be the end of the first video, and that was my quick update on Hawaii. And that was my 5th time racing in Hawaii, and I love it, and I can't wait to get back. So the next video is going to be talking about things that I learned in Wasa.